going on, Jerome's? So the story of the week is the Minnesota Vikings signing former 2019 number 6 overall pick draft bust Daniel Jones, formerly of the New York Football Giants, to the practice squad and a career rehabilitation for the quickly become the QB house flipper guy in Kevin O'Connell. Right now, there's always a myriad of reasons why quarterbacks bust in the National Football League. Highly drafted guys, maybe they're overdrafted, and maybe they don't put in the work. Maybe the organization fails them. Maybe there's not enough talent. Maybe it's bad coaching, bad GM, bad owner. That's also a huge one too. There's a lot of things going on here. And Kevin O'Connell, he's even talked about bringing in slinging Sam Darnold, and before the season, he's talking about his guy, and this is even before Darnold has had his career season. O'Connell this offseason talking on the Rich Eisen show, quote, "I believe organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations," and he's 100% right. Now, yeah, some quarterbacks fail because basically they just knocked themselves out of the league, a.k.a. Johnny Manziel, one of the quarterbacks that Kevin O'Connell coached as QB coach of the Browns back in the day, but you look at Darnold specifically, right? And the Jets, a lot of coaching change, bad ownership with Woody Johnson. There's GM turnover there. There wasn't a ton of talent. Offensive line wasn't there. The New York media expectations and piling on when things weren't going well. And you could see why Darnold didn't work out. And there is a lot of parallels between what happened with Darnold and Daniel Jones outside of the $160 million contract, which I'm sure Darnold just could have had it, man. But it does make you feel really good about the future of the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy because O'Connell understands these things. Not only him being a tier 1 coach in terms of structuring an offense, hiring a great staff to work with the quarterbacks as well, but also having empathy for what the quarterback goes through, but not babying them, but making sure that they have the best possible chance to succeed. I mean, it makes you feel pretty good about J.J. McCarthy in the future, right? But with Daniel Jones, like DJ, yeah, we saw. I mean, had the playoff win in the wildcard round against the Vikings 2022 season. It is what it is, right? And that did springboard him into getting that massive contract. But, I mean, Daniel Jones' 6 years with the Giants, it really is a lot more about memes and being bad and failure and all that stuff. And I mean, Joe Shane, he isn't blameless in this either. Let Saquon walk. Xavier McKinney is going to be in the Defensive Player of the Year mix. Paid too much for Daniel Jones. It is what it is. Thibodeau, Evan Neal missing high on the draft. I mean, Evan Neal was supposed to be a stud and protect Daniel Jones. Not so much. Just wasn't great. But you can see why Daniel Jones appeals to Kevin O'Connell, or O'Connell wants to get the best version of every single player and thinks that he can do it, as well as Kwesi loves the mama I can change him type players. Formerly highly drafted guys, big time draft pedigree that hasn't worked out for a myriad of reasons, and all of a sudden, and rise from the ashes. And I love this mentality where the Vikings are really going to become that new team. Give me your poor, your hungry, your busts, and I will make you a little less gross every single day. All right, and plus, not only I love the humbleness of Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, but everyone has an ego, and if you're Kwesi and if you're Kevin O'Connell and your peers couldn't make it work with a player, then all of a sudden you get that player and then they just go through the roof. Like slinging Sam Darnold this year. It's got to make you feel good, right? But there's a bunch of reasons why the Giants failed Vanilla Vic. Number one, they overdrafted him. So he was the number 6 overall pick when he probably should have been a borderline first, second round pick. It's kind of like Christian Ponder. Back in 2011, Vikings drafted him way too early. Ponder probably should have been a day 2 selection, but the Vikings were desperate at quarterback, just like the Giants were desperate at QB in the final days of Eli Manning, and they overdrafted the Southern kid who played under the tutelage of David Cutcliffe. So they're thinking that they're just getting an Eli clone, but no, this is the problem. When an organization is poorly run and they select a player way before he should have been, that automatically takes away all the guardrails of what should have been in there. Could Daniel Jones have become a little something if he's able to sit for 2-3 years behind an established starter and then taking over the reins as opposed to being thrown into the fire as a rookie because Eli was already past the sell-by date? Yes, and that's certainly fair. Plus, the higher the draft pick, the higher the expectations, and Jones just wasn't ready. Plus, 3 head coaches his first 4 seasons. So he was drafted under Shermer, which... cool. And then 2 years of Joe Judge, where his OC was Jason Garrett. Cool. And then Brian Daboll came in. Mom, I can change him. Daboll winning Coach of the Year on the back of Daniel Jones having a breakout season. Then they had to pay him. They let Saquon go to the Eagles, and now it's not an either-or proposition where they pay Daniel Jones so much they couldn't afford Saquon. BS. Baloney. It's nonsense, man. And Jones greatly benefited from having a stud running back in the backfield, and you had two running threats back there because, of course, Jones can move too. They never built an offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas. I mean, they tried. They failed. Right, the whole Evan Neal pick was a disaster, and they've had several of them. They let tight end Evan Ingram walk. He was a reliable target for Jones through a number of seasons. Darren Waller was brought in, a big-time contract. That was a disaster. They signed Kenny Golladay. That was also a disaster. Yeah, don't tell me that the Giants didn't have the money to retain Saquon. It's stupid. They drafted Kadarius Toney in the first round. That lasted for like 2 seconds. They never really had a true number one until 2024, and then they drafted Malik Neighbors, and Neighbors' attitude was not simpatico with Daniel Jones, right? And Darius Slayton has probably been his most consistent receiver, and Slayton's, I mean, at best a really good wide receiver too. Maybe a really good wide receiver 3. And then also, I mean, Jones came in with really solid mechanics coming in from Duke, and they just completely ignored all of those, right? It's an interesting side. Like Daniel Jones' mechanics, his footwork, his eyes, it's just really gone downhill during his NFL career because it's something that the Giants just ignored. And that comes down to coaching. It does. Daboll tried to turn Jones into Josh Allen, and that was the whole thing too. Like, Giants fans were just like, oh, Daboll came in. Look what he did with Josh Allen in Buffalo. It's like, oh, well, we also have a tall, mobile quarterback. Let's just do all those things when that's not Daniel Jones's game. Plus, you could say that, yes, they burdened him with the $160 million contract. Now, did Jones kind of force things because he won a playoff game, had some success, had the best year of his career in 2022 with Daboll in total? Sure. But also, like, who was in the bidding war here? Like, would it made more sense to extend Saquon and give the franchise tag to Jones or sign him to a shorter deal? Sure. Who was really champing at the bit in the 2023 offseason and be like, got to get us some Daniel Jones? No. And it's just like overdrafting him at 6, just like giving him that contract, it completely saddled him with unrealistic expectations. It's like you're trying to win the Kentucky Derby on a donkey, right? Donkeys, don't get me wrong, like you can do great things. They are extremely valuable animals on the farm, but are you going to win a race against thoroughbreds? No, ain't gonna happen. Right? They didn't expand on the 2022 success. They went away from things that he did well: movement, half rollouts, play action, boot action, all that stuff. They never shielded him from the New York media, and you could say, well, he's an adult. And Eli was a soft-spoken Southerner who did the same thing too. But you could tell, like, once things go bad, the media definitely piles on, and the fan base certainly doesn't help either. Now, yes, they're adults, and they get paid a lot of money to play a kid's game, but you saw what happened with Darnold, and same thing happened with Daniel Jones and the Giants. And then, the kill shot was demoting him to quarterback 4. So, behind the Italian, behind Drew Lock and behind Tim Boyle on my ass, and then having him play scout team safety, then having that get out into the media, which it's almost like they were trying to get him to request to be cut or waived, and then so that they can pretend to be the good guys in the situation. But it felt like most of the fans and definitely all of the team were in Daniel Jones' corner. Like, that is doing your guy dirty, and it's just something that only would happen with the Giants or, frankly, the Jets or the Bears. Who knows? But, I mean, it certainly didn't work out for a myriad of reasons now with the Giants, but could have worked out here. And now, for the same reasons why people said that Darnold wouldn't amount to jack squat here with the Vikings, they're saying the same thing about Daniel Jones. But the expectations are changed. Jones is not expected to come in here to be the savior. Like, his ceiling is this season, backup. Quarterback 2, maybe, likely more likely quarterback 3, overtaking Brett Rippon once he learns the playbook. And then next year, if he decides to come back, if the Vikings want him back, backing up J.J. McCarthy, if Darnold's not back, that's his ceiling. That's his expectation. And he's going to get great coaching, and there's going to be no expectations foisted upon him. He can fix his mechanics. He can relearn the game. He can probably fall back in love with the game. The Giants are still footing the bill on his contract from this year, and it's going to be good to go. And I can try to fix you. That's right. That's right, man. But yeah, everyone wants to blame Daniel Jones for what transpired with the Giants, but it ain't all on him. The Giants certainly failed him as well. But your thoughts are thoughts. Why the Giants failed Daniel Jones, not the other way around. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You know what to do. Skull production value.